This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hey there, and happy Thursday. Welcome to She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts, and you are listening to episode 6. Thank you so much for tuning in to these last 5 episodes and then today's episode. We're just about a month into this, and it has felt so good to hear all of the support and all of the sweet iTunes reviews. It just makes me feel so wonderful, honestly. Starting a podcast has been something that I have wanted to do for so long, and I finally did it. And just the support and the outpouring of love has been such a wonderful feeling. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank you so very much for being here. If you haven't left a review yet on iTunes and you feel inclined to do so, please head over to iTunes now, either on your phone or on your desktop, and leave an honest review about the show, what you like, what you would share with a friend, and also what we could do better. I would love that. I would really appreciate that. And again, just thank you to everyone who's already done that. I love you. I love you. I love you. Let's talk about today's show. Today is a great one. They've all been amazing. This one is no different. My guest today is Tiffany Wayne. If you don't know Tiffany Wayne, you are about to love her. This show actually ran an hour long because we seriously just could not stop talking. So the show is an hour, which all of my other shows have been 30 minutes. So just FYI, I thought about splitting it up, but then I was like, heck, I'll just go for it. I am actually going to read her biography from her website because she's so impressive and I don't want to leave anything out. So Tiffany Wayne is an award-winning photographer, you guys, and she's based in upstate New York. Her work is regularly published in magazines and popular wedding blogs, and her list of clients include professional athletes, models, on-air personalities, actors, and musicians. Tiffany is the recipient of 5 honorable mentions from the International Lucy Awards, and in 2012, her business was nationally featured in the industry-leading magazine, Rangefinder magazine. In October 2014, along with Amherst Media, Tiffany published her first instructional photography book. The book is titled Photograph Couples: How to Create Romantic Wedding and Engagement Portraits, and I actually ordered it myself off of Amazon. I am not a photographer, as you know, but I ordered it and it is beautiful. It is clear why she's an award-winning photographer. It's a wonderful book. I highly recommend that you get it if you are new to the industry. If you're new to photography, Tiffany's a great person to learn from. And I just bought the book because I love supporting women in our industry, as you know from this podcast. Something that's wonderful about Tiffany is that she regularly gives back to her community. She started her own charity, and she also gives back through education. So in 2011, Tiffany Wayne Photography joined forces with Dollars for Scholars and created a scholarship, the TWP Creative Excellence Award, which is for high school students pursuing a career in the creative field. How great is that? In May 2015, Tiffany was selected to be the Albany, New York leader for the Rising Tide Society, of course, a society for creative entrepreneurs who believe in community over competition. And that is a great organization. If you have not heard of Rising Tide Society, head to their website. A link will be in the show notes. It's probably something you want to get in on. Tiffany has made guest speaking appearances at high schools, colleges, and on the professional level. Previous to opening her photography business in 2010, Tiffany worked in both New York City and Los Angeles, holding leading roles in the industry, including director of photography for a national women's magazine and senior photo editor for a celebrity agency. Tiffany is a 2005 graduate from Hallmark Institute of Photography. Her portfolio earned her a top spot in the top 10% of her class. She also holds a bachelor's degree in communications and media from SUNY Cortland. Tiffany frequently travels and she's available for assignment worldwide. Wow, what an impressive bio. I am so excited for you to get to know Tiffany. I know you will love her as much as I do. And I am just, I'm kind of getting the hang of this podcasting thing. So I really liked reading her full-on bio from her website. So I think it might be something that I start doing for every guest. So look out, guests, coming in the future. I will be reading your bio off of your website. I know they are all amazing. So here is Tiffany. Let's go to the show. You guys are really going to enjoy this one. Hey guys, welcome to the She Creates Business podcast. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts, and I have the pleasure today of speaking with Tiffany Wayne of Tiffany Wayne Photography. And I'll probably say this a million times, but I just have to tell you, I'm chatting with her offline and I want to be her best friend. So I know you're going to love to get to know her. She's so much more than her professional bio that you heard in the intro. So let's just jump right in. Tiffany, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Kinsey. I am super excited to be chatting with you, and I also want to be your best friend. So look out for BFF necklaces coming in the mail.
Okay, I will. Perfect.
Awesome.
Already planning my life around it.
Love it.
Well, as I mentioned, I gave the listeners just kind of your professional bio in the intro, but I would love it if you would just briefly tell us who you are, Tiffany, where you're from, and what you do exactly in the wedding industry.
Sure. So I am a wedding and editorial photographer based in upstate New York, specifically near the Albany-Saratoga region. And gosh, a little bit about me. Well, I pretty much was born taking pictures. Is this okay to go into this if talking about how I got started into photography?
Oh my gosh, yes, please.
Okay, cool. So my grandfather was the one who really introduced me to the camera. Some of my earliest memories when I was growing up was him taking pictures of me and my sister, just, running around in our Easter dresses and any sort of fun family event that we had going on. And at the time, I honestly had no idea that I would take such a strong liking and interest in photography. I mean, I was a kid,
Yeah.
Eventually, as I grew older and grew up, it was something that I became really involved in and really, really loved. So I guess we'll go into more details about all of those specifics in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm a wedding photographer based in upstate New York, and I love what I do.
So so you started, basically photographing with your grandfather, and he really introduced you to it. And I'm sure, obviously it has a special memory attached to it, which is so special. How did you, transition in life to, kind of just from doing it as a hobby and just something you shared with your grandfather to really becoming Tiffany Wayne Photography and, making a business out of it?
Well, to be honest, I had no idea that I could even make it a business. Growing up, I actually would ask my neighbors, my cousins, and to model for me. And I would take a CVS throwaway camera and I would get the fan that was in, the house upstairs in one of the bedrooms to have the wind blowing through my cousin's hair for the whole Tyra Banks effect. And
get out of here. Yes.
Oh, I swear to God, it was like glamour shots like you wouldn't believe. With a CVS throwaway camera, nonetheless.
That's right.
So, this was probably around middle school, just to give you a sense of, where I was at this point. But again, I mean, I come from a business type family, I guess you could say. My dad is in finance. My mom was a stay-at-home mother. So really the only exposure that I've had to business and career was what my dad was doing. And again, being in finance, that's totally opposite from the creative realms of photography.
Absolutely.
But, I guess partly in my head, I was thinking this was too fun, and I just had no idea that you could actually make a career of it. So all throughout high school, I was involved in photography classes, and my dad would constantly be asking and guiding me, saying, okay, well, what is it that you want to do with your life? And I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much was wondering about, okay, well, I'm going to have to be a lawyer, or I'm going to have to pursue a career in teaching. And none of those really struck a chord with me, to be honest. And, my dad recognized that I had a creative talent there. And, naturally, because he's not a creative person, kind of directed me initially into becoming an art teacher, but it didn't resonate with me. So when I went to college, I chose the path that most confused high school transitioning to college students take, and, majored in communication.
That's right. I was like, she's going to say marketing or communication. It's just like liberal arts all the way.
Oh, totally. And, I just had no clue. So it's funny looking back, because even at my time spent in college, while I was pursuing a curriculum in communications, I was still involved with media and, taking pictures for the school newspaper and doing stuff with our television station and asking random friends to, again, model for me with my cool Walmart prints. Like,
that's right.
That was pretty much what I was doing. So ultimately what ended up happening was I had a binder filled with prints and negatives and all sorts of stuff. And I thought to myself, geez, I still don't have direction. I come to the end of my college career. Maybe I should go back to my high school photography teacher and see if he has any suggestions. So that's ultimately what I did. I went back to my high school photography teacher. His name was Ron Taylor, and he looked at all my stuff. And because I had told him, I'm like, people like what I'm doing, where do I go from here? Mm-hmm. And he directed me to a photography school in Massachusetts called Hallmark Institute. And it was a 10-month program that was incredibly appealing to me after having completed 4 years of college. So I instantly went online and looked them up and was sold just from their online presence. And I set up an appointment, went down there, and the facilities blew me away. The staff that I was introduced to blew me away. And they promised and delivered with, a curriculum that teaches you not only the technical aspect of photography, but you also learn the business side of things. So that in and of itself was pretty incredible. So, that was pretty much what kind of led me to a point of realization that, hey, there's more than just taking pictures here. So from there, 2 weeks after graduating, and this is actually kind of a funny side note, I was so happy to be at that school and so overwhelmed with all these butterfly positive emotions that every single phase, there are 4 phases throughout the program, I would send a thank you note to every single staff member, because I was just like, thank you. I mean, talk about, and like it wasn't even done as like a brown noser thing. Like I just was so happy to be there. I couldn't even let the staff members know enough how excited I was to be there.
That is funny, but also it's also amazing. It's like kind of beautiful. Like you really did find your passion. Not everyone can say that.
It's so true. It really is.
I mean, it's hysterical because I can just see Tiffany like, dear Mr. Taylor, you the best.
Wind beneath my wings.
Yeah. Seriously, I love you and this school and everything about this school.
Oh my gosh. No, you want to hear a funny / embarrassing moment that just kind of, well, whatever. I'm going to tell you guys anyway.
I want to know. Like, that's not even a question. Tell us.
Okay. So at Hallmark, every Friday, they invited in a keynote speaker of, somebody within the photography industry. And we had some heavy hitter names come through there, like Greg Heisler, Justin and Mary. There's a gazillion that I could probably name, but you guys get the point. It was always a big deal. Yeah. So Skip Cohen, who, if I'm remembering this correctly, he was pretty much the go-to guy when it came to, and I really hope I'm not getting this wrong, Rangefinder magazine. All I know is that he was a big deal. And he came in and spoke to our class, and I was so moved by the things that he was saying and just, getting involved in this industry, I went up to him afterwards to, thank him for coming. And I tell him that I really enjoyed the things that he said. And I had, in an effort to let him know how excited and passionate I was about photography, I told him, I'm like, if I could marry my camera, I would. And he looked at me and he goes, I don't think that could happen. I don't know. It just did not go over the way I had thought it would at all.
He was
should I be concerned about this girl right now?
He's like stepping away. Like, is there security involved in this talk?
Yeah. So that was my embarrassing moment that I was trying to make somewhat funny, but definitely flopped.
You are okay. I don't mean to laugh, but I love that your willingness to share this story. Okay, see, people, do you see why I love Tiffany? Because she's brilliant and humble and funny.
Well, yeah, I'm so glad you think I'm funny.
Well, now you can just be like, and look at me now, Rangefinder.
Well, I think, I'm going to have to Google that because it was back in 2004. And so I know he was affiliated somehow. I don't know. All I know, he was a big deal. So Skip, if you're listening, and anyone else who follows Rangefinder, I know Jason Group is the man now, but Skip Cohen was, and probably still is, the man, because I see him frequently at WPPI and whatnot. But yeah, so sorry if I got that wrong, but the story was cool, I think.
The story was accurate.
The story was accurate.
Yep.
That's right.
That's all that really matters.
Right.
Well, okay. So when you started, speaking of like WPPI and all like Rangefinder magazine and really the industry in general, that kind of really leads me into my next question. I mean, taking a little bit of a turn, but so you started Tiffany Wayne after, let's see, did you start it while you were at Hallmark or after Hallmark?
So when I left Hallmark, we all left with a functioning website and the ability to leave and basically start right then and there.
Oh, wow.
But what I did was a little bit different. Within 2 weeks of completing the program, I was actually hired at Women's World magazine down in New York City, or New York City area, I should say. So I moved down that way and started working in the photo department as a photo editor and researcher. And from there, I worked my way up to director of photography, which was really pretty amazing. And looking back, from where I am now, it provided a really great foundation as far as learning to work with stylists and models and being able to direct them and really just build a foundation and an eye for attention to detail that, I don't know that I would have, well, I can't say that I wouldn't have had it, but, I just feel like when your publication is going out nationally, you have to fact check and, make sure that attention to detail is there. So that was definitely helpful in preparing me for where I am now. But ultimately, yeah. Mm-hmm. So ultimately from there, after about 4.5 years, I, was at the top of my game there and thought to myself, gee, I really would like to pursue something a little bit different at this point. And I don't even know if at that exact moment in time, I had thought about opening up my own photography business. But I ended up going out to Los Angeles and was working as a photo and video editor out there for a celebrity street agency company, mm-hmm. which is kind of hilarious because I don't follow Hollywood at all. I just don't care if that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who's dating who, and I don't know the names of certain people. I mean, now I will say I totally love watching the Kardashians on TV. So if that counts as following Hollywood, okay, maybe I follow them. But as far as just knowing and being able to pick people out of an image, I couldn't tell you. So
that is so funny. Well, okay, so have you always been like that, or have you just been have you kind of evolved into that from when you worked on this celebrity street team?
I kind of always was like that. Yeah, I mean, my job basically when I was out there was photographers would submit images and it was our job to go through and edit it down to a concise photo story about the particular celebrities in the images. But
wow. That's interesting.
It was super interesting, but the problem I ran into frequently was I would be like, oh, no one's in this picture, no one's in that picture. And then my coworkers would be like, Tiffany, why did you throw those out? That's XYZ. And they're doing something scandalous. And I'm like, who? What?
What's happening in this photo?
Yeah. So I guess that wasn't my calling, I guess you could say.
It wasn't your calling to look at pictures of women getting out of the car at clubs?
No.
Shout out to Britney Spears. No big deal. 2007 wasn't good to you, but we get it.
Oh, gosh, I love it. But, I have to say, I'm definitely the type of person that finds the silver lining in any experience because I think anything that you go through in life has a teachable moment. And being out west and being involved in that career, and I was out there for about 2.5 years, I have to say it did train my eye in the sense of authentic interaction with people. So that, again, in hindsight, combined with the foundation of directing at the magazine is kind of the perfect recipe for weddings because you need to be able to direct your clients, but you also need to be able to direct them in a way that it comes across in an organic, authentic manner. Because ultimately, in my opinion, the job of the professional wedding photographer is to be able to capture the essence of your clients and do so in a way that resonates with them. So when they look back at their photos, they really feel themselves and feel, who they are and not just a prom pose. So, I guess, it kind of all comes back full circle.
It does. It really does. So, tell me more then. After your gig in Los Angeles, what came next?
I was homesick. So my family grew up, or, we all grew up in New York. So I knew that I wanted to be closer to home. So I moved back and was actually continuing working for that company out west, but they allowed me to do so remotely from the East Coast, which was pretty cool. But then ultimately, probably about 2 months after that was going on, the company downsized and they laid off a bunch of their workers, and I was one of them. So I was in this position where I was back in New York where I wanted to be, and I knew, or upstate New York, I should clarify, and I knew that I wanted to be near my family, but in the Albany, Saratoga area, there wasn't anything like a national magazine that I could walk into with a resume and say, hey, this is what my experience was. Mm-hmm. So it became kind of, I was almost in a way forced into making a decision that was, you need to figure this out. Are you going to just punch a time card and, let your dream go by the wayside, or are you actually going to do something about it now? So I chose to do something about it, and it was honestly perfect because I don't know that if I ever would have gotten the courage to leave a steady, secure job to pursue my dream. I honestly can't say that I know for sure that I would have done that. So it was really perfect the way that it happened. And because I was forced to make something of myself, and boy, did I go out guns blazing. I talked to anybody that would listen to me. I would reach out to anybody that I went to high school with, and especially friends that I was seeing who were in serious relationships or just got engaged or, had families, or even just people who I felt, would make great models in front of the camera. And that was obviously before all the algorithms and things like that came into play with Facebook. So, and just to give you listeners an idea, my business started in 2010. So I am currently in my 6th year of business. So, way back when.
No, it really is too, especially, I mean, in terms of a lot of things, like, gosh, 2010, Snapchat, Instagram, those were not even things.
I know. And it's crazy. And I don't know about you guys, but man, there are so many social media platforms. Sometimes I just don't even know how to keep up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that could be a whole other podcast. And maybe it will be.
Yes.
Maybe we'll do another one. There is. Well, okay, so it's 2010. You decide, hey, it's now or never, basically. You start Tiffany Wayne Photography, and you said something that's interesting to me. That you said, I basically just started talking to anyone who would listen. Which, okay, do you feel like that is because you are from New York? That's your New York personality. You're not afraid to talk to people, or where do you think that comes from? Because I have a feeling there's people listening right now who are like, sweet Jesus, I can't just go out and talk to anyone. They're shy or something. I mean, I'm one of them. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. I have to say I probably get, both of my parents to some degree are really, my dad thinks he's the mayor. He's not the mayor, I will say that, but he thinks he is. And my mom, she and I have almost identical personalities. We're both very bubbly. We wear our hearts on our sleeves. That's just kind of how we are. So, and especially when it's something that I am excited and passionate about, like photography, oh my goodness, you can't shut me up. I can talk on and on and on and on. And just recently, I saw this video of myself, and I must have said the word like 18 million times, and I was ready to throw the computer. So I'm just going to put out my little PSA that if I'm saying like a lot, don't worry, I'm looking into professional speaking classes so that I can get that remedied.
Me too. The first step is admitting we have a problem.
Yes.
My problem is I say, I love it, like as a response to everything.
Love it.
I love it. Yes. And I don't know why, because I'm not. Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad we could both come out and say that publicly on the podcast.
Yes.
Sorry listeners, and we really are trying. And if you are on the same boat as us, then we're all in it together.
Yes. Hashtag love it.
That's right. Yeah. Hashtag I love it. So, okay, let me ask you this then. When did I really wanted you to come on the podcast for many reasons. You're just a wealth of information, but it was so clear to me that community, and especially community within the industry, is important to you. So, being in business since 2010, when did you really realize, and I guess even going back to, talking to those friends from high school and people that you were just wanting to take their photo and, really telling anyone who would listen that you were now in business. But when did you really realize that the community aspect within your industry would be important to your success?
It's been an evolving process. Mm-hmm. When I started out, I was just so green. I had no connection to the wedding industry whatsoever. The only thing that I knew was I had a vision when I had a camera in my hand, and that was kind of what was, moving me forward. I always came from the school of thought that there are no secrets in photography. I'd never really quite understood when people felt like they needed to guard their ideas or techniques or business practices, because at the end of the day, I just have always thought that there's more than enough to go around. And if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're trying to fight for somebody's business, they're not the right person for you. So I guess with that mentality, I always felt that community was always a good thing. And I made it a point to just, again, try and connect with as many people as I could. And it wasn't until, a few years into my business that I started realizing that maybe not everybody thinks the same way as I do in that regard. Mm-hmm. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. It was just, to each their own. Everyone has their own thought process. So I'll never forget it. I remember it was a little over a year ago. Well, actually, maybe closer to 2. I follow both Natalie and Krista on Instagram, and I remember seeing a post from either one or both of their accounts saying, community over competition, and going into the whole spiel of what is now known as the Rising Tide Society. And I remember when I first read that, and I was so excited. I was like, yes, finally, somebody is on, the same page as me. Mm-hmm. So I instantly looked up the website, and there was a section where it said, if you want to be a leader, apply. And I was like, heck yes, absolutely, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I sent in my application, and they replied and were like, yeah, we would love to have you as a leader. So that's kind of how it started off. And it has been a truly amazing journey, having this community flourish the way that it has, and even just seeing the sense of community in my local area develop and really start to break down those barriers that have been up for so long. So, it's been really, really cool to watch, and something that, I don't know, it just makes me proud.
Absolutely. Well, of course, and it should. And if you're listening now and you don't know what the Rising Tide Society is, Tiffany's talking about, it's a group. They have, it's many things, actually. I'm not going to try to explain it. Do go to the risingtidesociety.com, and you will learn all about they have an amazing Facebook group. They have local groups, which is what Tiffany and I are talking about right now. She happens to be a leader of a local group. They are actually based out of, what is it, California somewhere? Or no, Maryland, DC.
Yeah, they're East Coast.
East Coasters, that's right.
But the Rising Tide Society is worldwide now, so hey.
That's right. So, and it really did, it's my understanding, because Natalie Frank and Krista Jones, who are the co-founders along with their husbands, who Tiffany mentioned there, that it's my understanding that it started as more of a photography group, because they are actually photographers as well, but they do welcome other creatives with open arms.
It's actually for all creative entrepreneurs. So unless I'm remembering incorrectly, I believe it was always open to creative entrepreneurs from the start. I could be wrong, because I know that there were some things, there's obviously some things that they needed to work out from the go, just figuring out the direction that they wanted to ultimately take this in. But I'm pretty sure it was always open to creative entrepreneurs.
Okay. Oh, well, that's great. I wonder, because I'm not a photographer, I own a venue, but I was, for me, I always felt like, wow, they're just so open to everyone, but that makes total sense. So so correction, they've always been open to all creative entrepreneurs, but you really should go look at their website, because they have, as Tiffany mentioned, worldwide groups, local groups, communities you can get involved in. And okay, so you're a leader for them. You're a local leader, and we keep saying this, but tell us what that looks like, Tiffany, and what that really means to you and what you do in that position.
Yeah, so basically we meet on the second Tuesday of every month, and we are given a topic and a guide to follow from the founders of the society that is to lead our discussion, basically. So we discuss everything from tools with productivity to social media accounts to, running the finance portion of your business. Pretty much all things related to business ownership are some of those topics. And what's really great is it allows your community to get talking with one another and really help each other out, and feeling that you're not alone in this, because I know so often business owners tend to feel alone, because you have this passion and what you're doing, it's hard to find somebody who I mean, you're the only business owner, you know what I mean? Unless you have a partner or something, but it's easy to kind of feel lonely in this adventure and journey. So getting people to talk around the community about similar experiences and what's worked for them and what hasn't worked, and just to offer, a high five or a hug. It's just a great way to build a rapport between people, and ultimately everybody benefits from it. So we have discussions on the second Tuesday of every month, and the topics are passed down to us from the founders, and that's pretty much what we do.
And how did you get, well, okay, I have two questions then. How did you get the word out, I guess, about the local group starting there for the Rising Tide Society?
Through Facebook and just talking to people, and then having other members talk. So initially, I will say it was a little bit hard to get off the ground, but I'm proud to say our group has more than doubled since what it has first started off as. So I think the more frequent that we meet, and the more that people see a benefit, and that it's not just this silly networking group, and that people can actually learn from it and make connections and grow, I think that's what has really helped with bringing people together. Plus, it's just fun. We'll meet at a local venue or somebody's house, and we'll have drinks and stuff. We're not trying to be all stuffy. We want it to be a fun experience for everybody.
Sure.
And just offer a safe place for people to share and ask questions, and just to kind of build community.
Absolutely. Do you find, or have you found, I guess I'm sorry, I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline. How long has your local group there been running?
About a year. A year and a couple months, maybe. So
okay. So in that year, have you found at all, or would you be willing to share, have you found that the folks who are participating in your group, that they've, kind of benefited in a way, like their business, aside from community, which to me is 100% important. I've absolutely learned that starting our venue. But have you found that it's a good place too for maybe finding collaborations or, working on projects together? Is that also something that could come out of a local Rising Tide Society meeting?
Definitely. And actually, a couple of months ago, I want to say this was back in May, it was challenged to all of Rising Tide Society, not even just, our individual chapter, but everybody was challenged to put together a styled shoe where everybody who was involved in your local chapter would be involved if they wanted to, and just to collaborate and see what comes of it. And I have to say that was probably one of the most rewarding experiences that I've been a part of. And we had probably over 20 different creatives, and we chose a location. We had models, we had hairstylist, makeup artist, fashion stylist, a bunch of photographers, a bunch of videographers, set stylists, paper goods. I mean, any type of creative entrepreneur you could think of, we had. And that was all within that group. Florist, I could go on and on. But it was really, really cool because you never get an opportunity to put several photographers in a situation where we're all shooting the same thing and then be able to look at everything side by side, because, what is so neat, and what kind of goes back to my point of, every photographer has their own vision, and if you're fighting for a client, they're not the right person for you. It's cool because just in that sense alone, being able to shoot the same thing and then see everyone's own interpretation of that was really awesome. So, it was just, it was a really, really great experience. We all took portfolio pieces away from it. It was an opportunity just to work alongside some people that maybe you hadn't had a chance to yet. Mm-hmm. So it was awesome. It was just a really fun day.
That sounds incredible and so fun. And I mean, you obviously just, everyone got a piece of their portfolio and what have you, but doing stuff like that isn't your typical, if you're a florist or a stationer or, a photographer, you're not collaborating on even, I would imagine, even on a yearly basis with 20 other creatives where you're really just like, where it's like a melding of the minds. And I mean, I'm sure something amazing happened. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get that in all instances. So yeah, you got a piece for your portfolio, but like you said, it's probably one of the best experiences anyone has ever had. So 100% worth it.
Definitely. And I have to say too, so we had a date picked, obviously, but prior to that, we were going back and forth between two different locations. And the first one, you actually had to hike to get to the location. I want to say it was probably 3 miles, maybe a little over 3 miles to the top. So a handful of us decided to go location scouting, and we all went and we hiked one day together. And even that, we ultimately were like, okay, what are we thinking logistically? How are we going to get food and, tables and chairs? It just was not, it just wasn't going to work. But the cool thing was we were able to get out and do something active together as a community outside of business. And that was really cool too.
Yeah. And really important too. Sometimes we in your case, we need to set down the lens or get away from the computer, like in my case, and get away from inquiries and whatever, and do things that are still within our community so we can actually get to know each other on a deeper level.
Totally. It's so important.
Yeah. On the topic of, so we've really been talking a lot about the Rising Tide Society and local groups, but I would really like to switch gears a little bit and talk about the Rise workshop, which you're a co-founder of. This is also an in-person event and an in-person workshop that's happening. And I'd like to dig into that and kind of, will you tell me why you started this, the workshop, and really what the inspiration was for it?
Yeah, sure. So for me, ever since I got involved in this career, I have been, like I said before, so excited that I found something that I genuinely have a passion for and was able to make a career doing it. So because of that, and I feel truly blessed to be in this position, I just want to be able to give back to as many people as possible. So giving back was just always one way that I felt needed, I guess. So a couple years ago, I actually started a scholarship with Dollars for Scholars that would basically help in financial assistance for somebody, or a high school student who is trying to pursue a career in the creative field. So as that kind of came around, I was like, man, I want to do more than just having a scholarship. I want to be able to talk to people and be able to let them know, like, hey, I know this may seem a little bit scary to go after something that you feel passionate about, but it's possible because I'm a result of it, Yeah. So if I could ever offer words of encouragement, that was something that I always felt important, or was important to me. So fast forward, I guess, to, this was probably only in June, I want to say. I have always wanted to do a workshop, but never really put it into motion. But I brought it up to my now business partner, Michaela Harris of the Harris Company. Her and I, oh my goodness, when the two of us to get together, we're like fireworks with all of our ideas and things that we want to do. And a workshop was something that she always wanted to do as well. So, and it's funny because we're both wedding photographers, and we're both in the same area, but and actually our relationship developed from the Rising Tide. So see, guys, this is all kind of coming full circle here.
It's all coming together.
So, it is. So, what initially started out as, hey, maybe the two of us will put something together has grown into something so much bigger than we honestly ever could have dreamed. We are bringing in speakers from all over the country. We have sponsors that are some of the biggest in the photography industry. Miller's Lab, Song Freedom, Fundy Designer. Gosh, who else I know there's a bunch that I'm missing, but you guys get my point. Like, we just have a bunch of people who are behind us and supporting us. And that in itself was not only validation that we were on the right track, but just really, truly amazing. And we're so thankful. So we basically set out to put together a workshop that is a full day experience for wedding photographers, or I can't even say wedding photographers because I feel like portrait photographers will also benefit from this. But we designed it so that no matter where you are in your career, you will take something away from that from that day, which was really important to us because we didn't want to limit it to just people who have already been involved in a career or people who are just starting out. We really wanted to make sure that this could, be impactful for somebody no matter where they were. But we're talking about all sorts of fun stuff, client experience and how that translates into in-person sales. We're talking about branding. We're talking about how to get your work published. So we have, a great group of people that, again, I said are coming from all over. We have Jen Olmstead, who is our branding expert, and she is owner of Tonic Site Shop. Mm-hmm. We have Alyssa Thiel, who is the owner of Paris Chic Boutique. She's going to be doing all of the designs for that day. We have Erica Powell, who is the president and founder of Reverie Gallery. So we have some really amazing people who are, coming out to support us and contribute to the day. So it's really going to be awesome. And quite frankly, I'm pretty flipping excited to hear what they all have to say.
Me too. That is a heavy-hitting lineup. I mean, I can't even imagine. So I've looked at your website. I know that you two girls are firecrackers. It's honestly just joyful to watch on the computer. So I can imagine just being in a room with both of you. So I'm sure the ideas are just like blowing out of your ears.
Oh my gosh. I can't even keep up with our own ideas, honestly. I mean, we have joked on numerous occasions that we make awesome ideas and take them to an awesomer level. Which doesn't even make sense, but that's just how, we're goofballs, we're fun, we're outgoing, we both love what we do, and we just have a blast.
I love that. I'm not surprised because of course, but it is so nice to have that person who understands you, that you can, that you could like really feel like you're yourself with, even though you truly are competitors. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you are competitors, but you're not treating each other that way. And look at the amazing things that are happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's been pretty cool. I mean, last month, we actually went out to Chicago to go to the Visual Nation conference, and it was one of the most incredible experiences. And to have her, at my side throughout it all was so cool.
I bet it was. That's so fun. I have a question. This is actually a practical question about, planning a workshop. Tell me how, you have amazing sponsors, you have incredible speakers. Tell me how, from a practical level, how did you reach out to them? Was it just simply a matter of, sending them an email, or tell us about that, especially if someone is listening and they're like, gosh, I really feel like a workshop is for me. I'd like to do a local one or something of that nature. Tell us how you reached out to those people and invited them to come along your journey and, see the vision of Rise workshop.
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually silently laughing to myself because, it was probably the most informal way to go about things. But, with Jen, for instance, I had sent her a Facebook message and I was like, hey, and I'm doing this workshop, was curious if you would want to be involved. And I kind of gave her a brief overview of what I had hoped, at that point, or saw the day going. And I said, if you're interested, let me know, and we can chat further on the phone. And so she wrote me back, and she was interested, and I was, oh my God, doing the biggest happy dance. You have no idea. So we set up a phone call, and then we just kind of chatted and went from there. And pretty much that was how it went with everyone else too. I had met Alyssa last year. Her and I co-hosted a picnic for Rising Tide Society chapters that are it was in New Jersey, New York, and there was, I think, another area too. But basically we had decided to throw an end of the summer picnic for some of the surrounding chapters, and her and I did that together. So I had met her prior to speaking with her over the phone and through email and whatnot, but I brought it up to her and she was on board, and that's pretty much how things got rolling, I guess. Mm-hmm. I just took a chance and said, hey, this may sound silly. And I told everybody up front too. I said, look, this is my first time doing this, so I apologize for asking lots of questions and not really, knowing how to direct this. But yeah, that's pretty much how it got going. It was very much trial and error, a learning process, but a good one, because the outcome ultimately has been favorable.
I think that is it's such a good testament to, sometimes you just have to ask, you don't have to be, and you don't have to be super formal. You don't have to know everything or have, tons and tons of experience. Sometimes you just need to ask, and you're really going to catch people who like Tiffany doing this podcast for me. She just wants to be, she's a giver. She has a servant's heart. And so she said yes to coming on the podcast, even though she has eons more experience than I do in the wedding industry. Sometimes, you're just going to find those people, and they're going to say yes, even if it is your first time doing a podcast, or like you, it's your first time doing a workshop. So I guess for me, I'm kind of reminding myself, and also if you're listening and you're feeling like you want to do a workshop, or not even a workshop, you just want to reach out to someone that you admire, just do it, because chances are they're going to say yes. And if they're not saying no to you, they're just saying no to the time period. Maybe it's just not the right time. So I feel like it's just a great testament to, it's funny because it is informal, but also that's all it takes, really. They're just people. People are just people.
Exactly. And I will say, honestly, what it comes down to is the marketing of it. So even if you do decide, hey, a workshop is something that I want to pursue, and let's say you reached out to people, you got them on board, you definitely have to market yourself in the way that you want to be received, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Can you dig deeper into that? Because I feel like I know what you're saying, but tell me more.
Yeah. So I guess, for us, we really wanted our workshop to have a higher end feel. We want it to be an experience for people from the minute they register to the end of the evening. So we, put the effort in making initially, obviously, a website and a video that would set the tone for what was to follow. So by having, a website that was really beautiful and put together, and I have to give a shout out to Christina Lang from the Buffalo Collective for doing this for us. It was fantastic. That really kind of sets the tone for what people can expect. So, and even for our speakers, I have to say, like, we have hair and makeup set up for them. We have a wardrobe stylist working with them so that they feel like their best self on the day of. And our attendees are, again, like, they're also going to be getting as much as we can the royal treatment. We have a lunch that's catered by the top catering company in our area. We have music. We have live calligraphy. We're having an after party. So it's really going to be an experience from the minute that they get there. And again, I think because of the way that we have been strategic with marketing ourselves, really sets that tone for what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And I think the overall really, what they expect. I guess when people register for the workshop, what they expect is what they're going to get. And that actually is, how that is going to affect how they feel transformed when they leave your event, when they leave your workshop as well. So gosh, that's a great point. I mean, it really starts with registration. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a little turn here because we're a little bit over time, and I apologize for that. But I do want to get into this because you and I talked offline about this, and I am just so I'm just so impressed and like kind of gaga over this. But you're a published author. If you guys don't know that, Tiffany is a published author. She wrote a book called Photograph Couples: How to Create Romantic Wedding and Engagement Portraits. I just ordered it on Amazon the other day. Super excited to get it. Can you, if you wouldn't mind, can you just kind of take me through that story? Like, how did that even happen? How did you publish a book? You've been in business for 6 years, which is a lot of time to know a lot of stuff, but there's people who are like 60 years old who haven't published a book yet. So tell me everything, basically.
Yeah.
Tell me your ways.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of hilarious because I have to say never once in a million years did I ever foresee myself being a published author. I was in my second year of business and I got an email from Amherst Publishing Company and they said, "Hey, we really like your images. We've been following you on Facebook and we would like to publish a book with you." And I read that email and I thought, okay, this is junk mail. I
Sure.
didn't believe it. I thought instantly, I was like, how much am I going to have to pay? Like, what is this? So I let it sit in my inbox for a couple of days before I responded because again, I didn't take it seriously because my mother, even though she was a stay-at-home mom, she was a children's book author. And I watched her try and get published for probably close to 10 years, and she still hasn't found a publisher. So I knew having a publisher reach out to me just seemed completely asinine. Like it just didn't even seem like it was real. So I wrote back and I point blank asked them like, well, how much does this cost? What is this going to entail? Because I had no idea. Mm-hmm. And they responded, well, you provide us with 60 portfolio images and we, put you, hook you up with one of our editors and you guys write this book together and we sign a contract and then you get a percentage of the profit. And I said, okay, what?
Right. Yeah, but how much will it cost me? Like you're still thinking that.
Yeah. So ultimately when I found out that it wasn't going to cost me anything and that it genuinely was just going to be showcasing my images, I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. So of course I said, absolutely. But it's funny because I was only in year 2 of my business and they wanted 60 portfolio images. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am a perfectionist. So when it comes to trying to select 60 portfolio images that are going to be in a published book, you can only imagine I was going crazy. Yes. And I was scrambling to come up with 60 images because I didn't have them, but I knew that I needed to make this work somehow. So ultimately I got them together. The process took about a year and a half or maybe a little. All I know, it was probably October, I want to say the fall of 2014 by the time it ultimately hit the shelves. Mm-hmm. And, it's kind of funny, going back through the book now and looking at where I was then compared to, where I've grown now as far as, defining my style and, figuring out the way that I like to shoot, I guess you could say. But it was amazing, and I'm actually going to be releasing my second book this fall.
Bravo!
Yeah!
Tiffany, congratulations!
Thank you so much. This one is different. This one's actually on photographing wedding details, because that is one thing that I think it's easy to overlook when it comes to the detail aspect of a wedding. But for me, the details are are what your couple spend most of their time, you know, working on. And those are those little sentiments that showcase who they are. I don't even know if that was the right word, sentiments, but you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. No, that's
you know,
right.
Okay, good.
You got it, girl.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess in order to tell the full story properly, you have to include detail shots. And that doesn't necessarily mean just the flowers or just jewelry or just the shoes, but it could mean, you know, when her grandmother grabbed her hand and you got a picture of that, or a reaction shot from her best friend when, you know, they had their first kiss at the altar, or, you know, wherever they were. So to me, details mean all the little things throughout the wedding day. So that's what this book is going to focus on.
Do you know when it will be released this fall? Do you have, or can you share that?
I don't know that I have a concrete date. I believe November is what they were targeting. So I'll go with November.
That is, and will it be with the same publisher? Same
publisher, yep. And you can order that through Amazon. You can pick it up at your local Barnes and Noble store. And that's all over. So yeah, wherever you are, you can get it.
That's wonderful. Well, and listeners, I'm making a note for myself right now. I will follow up with this I'm going to put it in the show notes anyway, but I'm going to follow up as well, like later in the fall. And as soon as I see that it's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, I'll go ahead and link that as well. So you can click the link too. So we got you covered.
Thanks.
So that is okay. One thing I do want to shine a light on really quickly here is, I think it's pretty safe to say that a publisher reaching out to you and basically just saying, "Hey, we want to publish a book with you," is really rare. I don't feel like I hear that story a lot. Would you agree or would you disagree?
Well, the only experience that I have is witnessing my mom try to get published for years.
Right.
So, I guess I would agree with that statement.
Okay. But something that you did say was when Amherst Publishing contacted you, here's what they said. They said, we've been following you on Facebook and we like what you do. So you clearly were doing something on Facebook that caught their attention. And I just kind of wanted to shine a light on that because I feel like a lot of times in our businesses, we can get bogged down by, the saying right now is like, all the things. And we're like, oh, social media this and social media that, or our blog this or our blog that, or emails and everything. But when things, especially outward facing marketing tools like Facebook, Instagram, your blog, your website, when those are so easily accessible by other people, you truly do not know who is watching. And it's just a real testament, Tiffany, to what you were doing on your Facebook page that they reached out to you. So I feel like for me, I'm kind of just saying, hey, to myself, you never know who is watching, and you can reach your goals just by putting your head down and doing the work, which is what you were doing. And then boom, you got this opportunity.
Yeah, that's so well said. And it's funny because that whole train of thought is exactly how I operate when I'm at a wedding, because you just never know who is watching you work. And I guess I never really thought about it until you mentioned it now, that also translates on social media. So that's really cool. Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Well, you're the published author, so you're the cool one.
Well, you have a podcast, so really you're the cool one.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I hope so. We'll see. So tell me, as we wrap up here, and I just want to thank you again for your time. I know we're going over here, but you have so much to share, and I'm sorry, we should have split this up. But let's wrap up here. I know your time is valuable. So what are 2 tools that you use, Tiffany, to kind of manage your business and your projects? You're busy. You have a workshop, you have a business, you're writing a book. Tell us what you're using to manage. It could be tech or not. What do you use to manage your business and projects?
Oh my goodness. Well, one, I'm laughing because the first thing I almost said is my mom.
Oh my God, I love moms.
She is my sounding board and helps me think clearly on all levels. But no, seriously, I have to say my Google Calendar is pretty much my Bible. And just a good old notepad and pen. Honestly, it's probably not what you expected to hear from me, just because I do have a lot of projects juggling at one time. But I'm kind of a traditionalist, so I'm all about keeping my calendar up to date and putting things in immediately when they're supposed to happen and deadlines. And then just being able to write out my to-do list at, the beginning of the day or as I think of things. So, it's actually nothing super formal.
Nope, I love that. Oh, a couple other people have said their Google Calendar, and I use it as well. And there is something to be said for that thing. I tell you what, you can take it anywhere.
Yeah.
Syncs with so many apps online.
And especially time zones too, because I travel frequently for work, and just being able to have that go with me and change with the time and all that that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, close us out with something that you're excited about right now in terms of your business, and just in terms of maybe new projects or new offerings you have on the horizon. I mean, obviously you have a workshop and a book coming out, so of course those can be your things. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about?
Yeah, so aside from those two things, probably being, the top two, I have just been recently added to Fundy Designer's Storyteller page. And
Nice.
when I was at Visual Nation, I attended Fundy's class. That's his nickname, Fundy. His name is Andrew. But attended his class, and he spoke about the importance of print and product and getting, those love stories translated into a tangible heirloom that can be passed down for generations to come. And honestly, my family didn't invest as I was growing up into prints and going to have family photo sessions. We just didn't, which is kind of funny if you knowing where I am now. But I struggled for a long time in my career with understanding why we needed to invest so much more in a tangible product. And I have to say, and I'm so thankful for his class to really wake me up, because if you think about it, if you're just passing over a digital image and you're using it for, say, social media, or you say, hey, in the future, I'm going to plan on putting something together for myself, you never end up getting around to it. And look at what's happened to the social media sites historically. AOL, it's not really there anymore. MySpace, yeah, it's there, but it's not really there. So there's so you just, and how many times have you lost your phone and lost images on there? So in order for you to truly preserve your love story and, your just who you are, you have to be able to put that in print. And that was probably the biggest, or that class had the biggest impact on me. And so now I'm on the Storyteller page, and I'm proud to say that I have come to a point where I'm going to be selling product, and because I see the value in that. So, yeah.
So look out for are those something you're going to be offering in your packages or something separate? What does that look like?
It depends actually, no, it doesn't depend. It used to depend. See, this is where I'm learning.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, no, everybody is going to be able to now walk away with an album, which is something that is new for my business. But that is, I don't know, to be able to verbalize that is a really cool thing. So I'm sure if you're a photographer listening out there, maybe you've already been doing this for years, or maybe you're just somebody who does hand over the digital images. And if you do hand over digital images, if I could just ask you to either reach out to myself or look on the Storyteller page under the Funny Designer website and just kind of, see what a life-changing experience. Well, maybe you won't get the experience from the website, but I'm saying that it's just so important. And I guess I can't stress it enough now that I've kind of had that aha moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. You know, I think that it makes me feel good to know that even at which, and I could guess this about you, but it makes me feel great to know that even after so many years in business, you're still willing to learn new things and change things and, you know, evolve and progress in other areas of your business, like offering, you know, print albums and things of that nature. So thank you for being willing to share that.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, the one thing that is constant is change, and you have to be willing to adapt because, you know, even if you're on the right track and you're sitting still, eventually you're going to get run over, you know?
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
So yeah, so keep on going, keep on changing, and keep reaching.
That's so good. I don't think there's a better place to end than that. Tiffany Wayne, thank you so much for being on the She Creates Business podcast. It's been fun and hilarious and just it's really just been an honor to speak with you. I really appreciate you being here.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully I didn't talk your ear off too much, but this was so much fun and I wish you so much success.
Thank you. Bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.